Welcome to Duo Chat with Brittany and Cynthia, where we talk about drama shows from shows ranging from the 90s to today.
Hi everyone, I'm Brittany,
And I'm Cynthia.
and today we're talking about season 6, episode 18, titled Love Bites, air date April 9th, 2003, and the synopsis is
Dawson asks Pacey to help him invest for his new independent film and then returns to Capeside to write his next script. Meanwhile, Pacey escorts Joey to Harley's school dance where they have a perfect time despite Harley's date Patrick picking a fight with another guy. There, Joey tells Pacey she can't have anything to do with him because Eddie has come back. Also, Grams tells Jen she has been diagnosed with breast cancer.
okay, so it starts off where, last episode ended,
Mm-hmm.
terribly, in my opinion. Well, it was all cute with Pacey and Joey, and then Eddie came back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, so he's standing there, and when she said, "What the hell are you doing here?" I was like, "Seriously, what the hell are you doing here? You're ruining the show."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what did you think? I mean, were you happy Eddie came back?
No, I wasn't expecting it at all. I thought he would just kind of disappear like
For like kind of Audrey, she just never in the show anymore.
well, I was actually gonna say Emma because that just kind of dropped. So
Yeah, it's like I don't know, the people in season 6 are dropping like flies.
mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's not like he's a main character that, we want to see. Like Jack just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
So for episodes, so it's kind of like, we'd rather see him.
Right.
Um, but I didn't understand him at all because he was like, "Oh, school's great. They love my writing. Didn't go back."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why are you here? If school's going great for you and that's where you should be, then why are you there? I don't understand.
Well, apparently he says he's not starting till the fall, so he just has time to kill until then
Eh, I
and to
don't
tell her
like it.
thank you.
Oh my God, but did you hear what he said to her?
Mm.
He was going on about, like she was the only one that really, was invested or whatever and liked his writing and blah blah. Well, then he was like, he said that she had the sexiest voice.
Right.
I'm sorry, he was trying way too hard. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like to try to get her back. Go away.
Right. And he said that she had a smile that breaks his heart, and I thought like, this was the scene where she was gonna actually break it by telling him about Pacey, but she didn't. I mean, she did, but not specifically. She just said she's moved on.
So when she said no to him, um, I just thought he was very pushy because he said, "That's not the answer I'm looking for." And I was like, "Oh, you left. How many times?" And already broke her heart, when you left and ghosted her. So why would she want you back? I just,
Mm-hmm.
and so she's supposed to just wait around forever for you?
Right.
I'm so confused at this because I'm like, I don't understand why you think you can just waltz back in and be like, I'm back. And
Mm-hmm.
she's supposed to just be so excited and want you. Like, no, that's not how it works.
Right.
And I will say, as much as Joey is annoying me with this whole Eddie Pacey stuff, um, because I don't really like her in the episode. I liked here when she was just like when she wasn't jumping for joy to see
Mm-hmm.
him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because she could have. They could have
Mm-hmm.
very easily made her happy and, you know, went up and kissed him. Like that could have been basically the end
Mm-hmm.
of our little hearts. But I was happy that she was just like, no. And then she was like, I moved on. And it was like, I was happy she said that, but I mean, yeah, she didn't really go into detail or anything, and it drove me nuts.
Mm-hmm. And then after the theme song, we come back to her dorm room where Harley is going through her closet to find a dress for the dance that Joey's going to chaperone for.
Harley was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, because she's trying to find her address. And she said, "You need to look good, but not that good." So
Right.
she's trying to find her, like not in like an old person dress, but not a young, sexy dress either.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was funny because she was like, "I don't think I'm gonna find anything like that in here."
Right.
Oh my God. She was just funny.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like their relationship because it seems, it's like Joey's the older sister, Harley's the little sister. I
Mm-hmm.
love their dynamic.
Yeah, me too.
But I just feel like sometimes Harley has kind of replaced Jen. Like, I'm not saying like sister wise, but I'm just saying like in the show,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because Jen has been, in and out of season 6 so much. And she's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be the core of the show.
Right. Part of the main, yeah,
I
characters.
mean, she's been there since day one. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I get Jack because he came in season 2, but Jen's been there since episode 1. So it's really hard when she's in and out. But I did like the scene between Harley and Joey.
Yeah.
Oh, but then she found her the dress.
Mm-hmm. Like a light yellow spring-like dress.
hmm but when she was saying that she didn't want Joey to like look that good,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Joey's the person that you could put the worst dress on, the most hideous on her, and she'd still look good,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
because she's just pretty. So it's like all you'd have to do is like look at her face and ignore the dress.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not everyone can pull that off,
Right.
but she can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Harley just wants to make sure she doesn't look too, noticeable for Patrick's eyes,
I'm
who still
sorry,
has
but
a thing for her.
Patrick,
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't even wearing a dress the last time when she met Patrick, and Patrick was all over her. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? She doesn't
Yeah.
need to wear a dress for Patrick to, she could be wearing um a winter jacket and he would still follow her around like a puppy. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Harley understands that Patrick just likes Joey, period.
Right. Mm-hmm. I thought it was cute and funny how uh, Harley was pushing Joey's buttons about wearing this or that and everything like that, by being too
hmm
revealing. And then the next scene is with Jen and CJ after a morning together.
Um, what I thought was weird was that, they were kind of like going back and forth and everything, but like just out of nowhere, he said, Grams broke Uncle Bill's heart.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was weird how it went from that, like couple sentences of them going back, and then they just acted like it didn't, like the flow of it. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like this was like the top story of their day. It was, all right, let's move on. Let's just keep going. Like, I don't know, it's just weird.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't really have anything serious to talk about. And you would think that that would be because it
Mm-hmm.
involves their family.
Yeah.
And they just kind of blew it off. It was like, oh, well, he can't watch. What was it was it Wheel of Fortune?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it was like, and then that was it. I was like, well, where's the rest of this conversation?
Mm-hmm.
It went nowhere. I was looking for more, but I
Yeah.
got nothing. What'd you think? I mean, I thought we were gonna get somewhere.
Yeah, they just moved subjects and went back to talking about sex, so
I know,
they're just
but
into each other.
didn't you want to hear more about, their opinions on Grams and Uncle Bill?
Yeah, but I did figure they would come back to around it eventually.
Yeah,
But
but I
yeah,
don't
just
know.
placing it really quick and that scene was a little too quick.
Well, yeah, especially when you're actually having that conversation, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have that conversation with somebody. It's
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be like, oh, it's just part of your like little morning where you just say one little thing and that's it and you move on. Like, no, that's not how it would go.
Right.
So it kind of bothered me.
And then Pacey walks
Oh,
into
but did
work.
you know that Grams and Uncle Bill were serious?
Not that
But
serious, no.
I mean, they went out with,
once.
yeah, with
Hmm.
Jen and CJ. And I didn't
Hmm.
think anything happened after that.
They did go on a walk, but we didn't see how that walk went or heard about it. So
Yeah, but I thought that was like it because they
yeah.
never brought it up again until now. Oh, Gramps broke his heart. And it's like, but I didn't know they were dating. And I didn't
Hmm.
know it was serious because we never
Yeah.
heard anything.
Hmm.
So that also threw me off because I'm like, oh, they were supposed to be an item. I didn't know that at all.
Hmm. Yeah. So then Pacey walks into work and calls Joey on his speed dial. Did you notice that?
Yes. I didn't know he had a cell phone. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's the first time we've seen him with one. So I guess he bought one to call Joey, maybe.
Well, you know, it's funny because he would always use other people's cell phones. And
Exactly.
he finally has his own. It's so cute.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know what I wonder though?
Mm.
Um, you know how some people get very invested in like characters and shows, right?
Hmm.
Where sometimes I think people sometimes think it's real,
Hmm.
sometimes.
Right.
And when his number popped up, I wonder how many people went to try to call that number.
Oh yeah, there probably had been some, yeah.
Because like I know not to call that number because it's not real.
Hmm.
But I wonder how many people
Right.
I'm just saying, well, especially because he's a popular character.
Hmm.
It's not like if it was Dawson that was calling, because I don't really think that too many people would try to call the number. But
Hmm.
because it was Pacey, I would just wonder how many people tried to call that number. Because it was like the first time we saw his number.
Hmm.
Because any other time it was, they would just pick up the cell phone or whatever.
Right.
It wasn't like we saw the number pop up.
Hmm.
But did
Yeah,
you like this scene between the two of them?
hmm yeah. About staying out late to pretend they're like young people, not old people.
Yes. Oh my God. It was so cute um, when he said, we were old, like old people. Oh my God. But you know what's funny is them as a couple, they kind of were like the old couple.
Hmm.
Remember back in season 4, well, especially him. He didn't want to go to parties. He just wanted to like stay in with her. It wasn't, he wasn't into all of that. And she had to drag him out to go to things.
Hmm.
And so it was just kind of funny because I'm like, but you two were that couple. And there's nothing wrong with it. It was cute.
Hmm.
Like, I don't want them to be partying all the time.
Right.
And so I was just like, but that's you guys. It's adorable.
Hmm.
But it was funny because he was like, no, we need to get out and stuff. And it's like, okay. But then she brings up that she's busy and she has to chaperone Harley's um dance.
Hmm.
And he offers to go with her.
Right.
Now, I have some like red flags with this.
Okay.
Doesn't he have to like fill out volunteer forms
Yeah, you would think.
in
Yeah.
order to do to chaperone a school dance?
Hmm.
And you have to get your background checked and everything, um, beforehand. So it was just kind of weird. But okay. But it's adorable for their story. But I just had some red flags about that. I was like, you can just because it's what, a day or two away.
Hmm.
And or no, was
No,
it
it's
tonight?
tonight. Hmm.
Yeah. So that's even worse. It's
Right.
tonight and he's gonna join. And I thought, you'd have to fill out forms.
I don't know.
And also, chaperones are not supposed to have dates. That was my other red flag.
Well, maybe if they're parents, yeah, but singles, no, probably.
Well, that's the thing is like if your parents are chaperoning, your parents are
Hmm.
chaperoning.
Hmm.
Joey is chaperoning, as an adult, but Pacey's just going as her date. I'm like, what?
Hmm.
Chaperones do not have dates. They're supposed to be watching the kids.
Right.
This isn't their dance.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just like, what? Like that's why I had a couple red flags with this. Like I loved it, but I just, I gotta if I have to pick out Dawson's red flags, I gotta pick out this one too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just thought I was like, that's not really how it would go, but it was adorable.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was funny how Pacey called Harley Rosemary's baby. Like, what does she
I
want?
just I just loved it all together.
Mm-hmm. And then just as Pacey hangs up the phone, Dawson shows up in the doorway, which is a first.
Um, no, what I keep thinking of is the fact that Dawson has no clue that, first
Oh.
of all, Pacey and Joey are hanging out. Secondly,
Mm-hmm.
that they've gotten so close where they could be an item, where we've thought they were an item. And also that, like they're finally getting back to being friends. And I'm air quoting that because, that's I'm taking it lightly. But because we all saw how Dawson reacted the first time around.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think it's gonna be when he finds out again?
Yeah, I
Where
know.
especially when he's not a part of this. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like, we've been hanging out, and it's, we have feelings and this just goes nowhere. It's like he walks in and it's like, oh hey, and it's like, are you not gonna say what the elephant in the room is?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, don't you think that I would say Pacey, he's come a long way, right? He wants to redo everything he's done in the past and make it better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except for this, apparently.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what ruined your friendship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're starting to be friends with that person.
Yeah.
Why would you want to ruin that again?
I know.
Especially like you want to do everything different, right? Well, shouldn't telling Dawson how you feel about Joey right now in the moment be a priority?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just that's what was just kind of comical because he's grown up in like every other aspect except for apparently that one. It's like I'm just not gonna say anything about Joey and I. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he also is doing it because he is trying to be friends with Dawson? Because it's kind of
Maybe.
like walking on eggshells right now with the two of them. Like anything could set Dawson off because, it's always happened that way. Because Dawson is in Dawson bubble. That do you think it's like, well, I just won't say anything, just, because we're starting to become friends?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, because I was like, well, I guess that's how it could take, but I'm just saying he probably should give his friend Dawson, a heads up so he's not
Mm-hmm.
blindsided.
Yeah. Yeah, so Dawson's just there to invest in a check he has from working with Todd for his
Oh
next
my!
movie.
So when Dawson comes in, he puts it right down on the table, and he's like, "This is my money that I saved up from working with Todd." I'm like, well, first of all, wasn't he kind of like a intern in a way?
An assistant, yeah.
I didn't, because like interns, a lot of interns don't make money.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because, I mean, he couldn't have been, and I guess if he is the assistant, he couldn't have been making that much money.
Right, but he probably got some money when he was doing the reshoots, so guessing where most of that money came from was that.
Because I was just like, how much money is that, Dawson? Because he acted like when he put on the table all proud, I was like, smacked on the
Mm-hmm.
table. I was like, oh, I'm thinking it's like a whole lot of money, right? And then when
Mm-hmm.
he said what it's from, I'm like, I don't know how much you'd actually make from that.
Yeah.
Especially your first time. I could see
Mm-hmm.
if you had other projects you had done where it was like, okay, you'd get a raise from it or something. But I didn't think coming out of, doing nothing would. get you a whole lot of money. But and I also thought too, Dawson saved all that money.
I guess, yeah.
But where is he living?
We don't know at this moment.
Oh, so okay, so when him and Jen broke up, he obviously moved out of Graham's, right?
Yeah.
Then where'd he go? Because that was in season
Um,
5.
hmm Um, I just remember between the last time we heard was he was staying at Todd's beach house in California. But then after that, I don't know.
Like in season 6, where's he staying? Because he was in the hotel when he was filming the movie.
Right. So probably hotel maybe, but that still would after some days probably, you know, break down what he already saved up. So
Well, and I wonder too if he got a free, if they, like, if the studio paid for it.
oh yeah, maybe, but
But the
it would have
movie's been
stopped.
over.
Yeah. Hmm.
The last day of filming, they would have said, all right, we're no longer paying, which is understandable. So if they were paying, the movie has been done now for what, probably a good month.
Maybe, yeah.
So if he's still staying in a hotel, that's going to cost him money. And
Hmm.
then he's got to pay
Exactly.
for food.
Hmm.
So I'm just kind of, it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense that he would save all of his money from there and not spend it on life, life
Hmm.
expenses.
Yeah.
So, especially, and also too, he has a phone, right?
Hmm.
He's got to pay for all the minutes, right?
Hmm.
So, I don't know, just going through like your monthly bills, I don't know how he can just save all the money. The little
Right.
money he made.
Hmm.
It's not realistic, but okay.
Yeah.
Um, but it was so funny because he was when he's like, I'm here to invest this money. And Pacey was like, come into my office.
Hmm.
And then did you see Dawson like looking around like, wow?
Hmm.
It was so funny.
Yeah.
Um, and then they sit down, right? And Pacey gets all like serious and it's like, you know, so he doesn't want to invest Dawson's money.
Hmm.
And Dawson was like, but that's your job. And he's like, yeah, but like basically I have morals.
Yeah. And Pacey was even whispering so no
Yeah,
one
and he
else would
goes,
hear.
and Dawson's like, why are you whispering? And he goes,
Yeah.
because if they knew that I was turning down, basically the money for
Hmm.
my morals.
Yeah.
I mean, which makes sense because that's the whole job. But um, I get where Pacey's coming from because he could very easily take the money and invest it.
Hmm.
But he also knows that people can get screwed in the end with it.
Right.
So he, I liked how he was like telling Dawson straight up, like, we're friends, even though I don't see it, but we're friends and I'm not playing, like, this would ruin it if you
Yeah.
lost money.
Hmm.
And I don't want to mix that.
Right.
And so here's the thing is Dawson, he's adamant about doing this.
Hmm.
So I feel like at this point, if Dawson invests money and Pacey said no,
Hmm.
and Dawson still goes ahead with it, this whole thing is on Dawson.
Right. Because he warned him.
Right. Because if you told me no, like this isn't a good idea, and I went
Hmm.
along with it, I can't blame you. You told me no.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting it out there for the universe that
Hmm.
Dawson doesn't listen. And he might want to remember this.
Hmm.
But also, too, Pacey, again, is showing that he has grown up because he isn't just taking the money and like, yeah, we're going to make money and blah, 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 like he would have back in like season 1 Pacey.
Hmm.
Where it was like all about money and all of this and what they could get out of it. I mean, that was season 1 Pacey. But this Pacey is like, no, I know what happens in this business, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you straight up, which is not what he tells everybody else because that's his job.
Hmm.
So I like this Pacey so much better.
Yeah.
Were you happy that he told Dawson basically no?
Hmm. Yeah, just to warn him, and he's not really aware of what he's getting himself into. But Dawson's so excited about his next movie, like things are going really well, and he says things are falling into place. So he just wants to, keep going up with it.
Oh, but it was funny because when Dawson brought up this is the vibe or whatever,
Hmm.
Pacey was funny. He was like, as your friend, I'm never gonna tell anyone you use the word vibe.
Yeah, I guess it was a California thing back then, and now it's kind of spread everywhere.
I
So,
know, because I was like, what's wrong with the word vibe?
hmm.
I don't know. I was like, what? But it was funny how Pacey was like, because there's always gonna be something he's gotta say, right?
Hmm. And then the next scene, Jen walks into the kitchen where Grams is reading a Truman book. I had to go back because at first I thought that said Trump. So I had to rewind and look at
What
that
I thought
again.
it said Trump.
I did. So I had to, like I said, I had to go back and like check it out. I always like look at stuff like that just in case if it's brought up in the scene. That's why I went back too, but it wasn't. So, but yeah.
Oh,
So then, Jen asks about Uncle Bill. Like, why did she break up with him?
oh my God. I felt so bad for Grams.
Me too.
Because Jen, that girl, first of all, that girl can never take a hint, right?
Hmm.
And she's just always so hard on Grams.
Yeah.
And first of all, how do you know Uncle Bill didn't do anything?
Right.
First of all,
Yeah. Especially after
and
that date. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, especially because remember at the table, he was being so condescending,
Hmm.
like Mr.
Making a
Brooks.
scene.
Yeah, so it was like I wouldn't have went out with you past that day. And Grams is so nice. And so, but I didn't like Jen, how why'd you break his heart? And blah blah. And it was like, but yeah, I just didn't like how she didn't look at her face. And you could tell by looking at her face that Jen should have shut up.
Hmm.
Cause then she makes then Grams gets up and leaves because she doesn't want to like listen to Jen.
Right. For
But
sure. Yeah.
again, Uncle Bill could be in the wrong too.
Hmm.
I just didn't like it because I was like, Jen, you're becoming Dawson. Like, look at somebody's face and you could tell it wasn't a good idea to continue.
Hmm. And then Joey's in her dorm room looking at the pictures of her with and individually of Pacey, Dawson, and Eddie. And that's when Pacey walks in.
Oh, I guess I didn't get that, but
Oh yeah.
I missed that
Yes.
scene.
Yeah. So Pacey just tells her she looks too be hot she looks too hot to be a chaperone and thinks he's living out one of his teenage fantasies.
Yeah, it was adorable. And he was like, you're too hot to be a chaperone. It's like, oh my God. I mean, it's funny coming from him, but it was like, oh my God. But
Hmm.
he's being so sweet.
Yeah.
He brings her two different corsages.
Hmm.
Oh, this whole scene was so cute.
Yeah. I was surprised that one of the options was vegetables though. But then it also makes sense because he was a chef, so he knows how to create something like that.
But that's the one she picked, isn't it?
Hmm. Yep. And she even gives him a little rose for his pocket square.
Um,
And then when they
here's
leave,
here,
yeah.
so um, you know, wasn't he helping her put on her coat?
Hmm.
And then it was so cute because they had that moment where he puts his head next to her, on her shoulder and stuff, all cute. And her face mm,
Like guilty.
was on
I
my
felt
last
bad.
nerve. I was like, oh, I can't with this girl.
Hmm.
Like look at Pacey. Like, I have so much about Joey that I don't like in this episode.
Yeah. And then when they were leaving, we even see a little scene shot of the camera showing picture with Joey and Eddie. So like he was on her mind when they left.
I didn't like it because Eddie needs to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we finally got Pacey and Joey scenes for these past few episodes, and it's been perfect. Then Eddie's got to come back and ruin it all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not even like we can blame Dawson at this point. He hasn't even talked to Joey since
Don't even know.
who knows when.
Mm-hmm.
It's been Eddie's the problem now.
Yeah.
Like, go away. We finally are getting our Pacey and Joey back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they all arrive at the dance that's has like a medieval theme to it.
Also, Joey's ruining Pacey's night because,
By
well, because she should have told him right from the start so that
oh yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't have to buy her the corsages. He didn't have to waste his night and money. Like, it
Leading him
bothered me.
on.
Like, open your mouth. Yeah. Like, he
Mm-hmm.
thinks that they're getting back together. This is so cute. And she's just like, Eddie's back. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do. And it's like, mm, you're making me mad, girl.
Mm-hmm. And then 2 seconds after they walk in, Harley says that the dance already bites because her friends haven't come in and, you know, freaking out over her dress. And then that's when Joey says that Harley isn't the first woman to accompany a non-dancing date to a dance.
Well, yeah, because Harley was like, well, he doesn't dance and everything. And so yeah, and then this is a scene too where Joey says that, oh, well, Pacey, took me to the prom and he broke up with me at the prom. And it was like, and then
Yeah.
Pacey he goes, you don't have to air our dirty little laundry, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, exactly. That was so funny.
Yeah.
But again, Pacey's trying to remember when Pacey said, I I don't want our past, what happened, to keep being brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Joe is doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like everybody in that point in your life in high school knew what happened. Keep it that way if you want to be with that person.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to tell new people, leave it in the past if you want to be with this person. But clearly she just doesn't get it.
Right.
Now I have a question. If this was Dawson, would she have said, "Oh, remember when you um broke up with your girlfriend after we slept together?" I mean, would she throw that in his face?
Yeah, probably.
Well, I'm hoping she would, because I don't like her throwing this in Pacey's face. Like we get it. We know what happened,
Mm-hmm.
but he's a different person,
Yeah.
as she should be, but she's clearly not. She's the
Right.
same. She's becoming the same person she was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when she went to the dance and was interested in Jack and kissed him and, left Dawson in the dark and everything? Like, she does it to herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so after this conversation, Patrick comes up to Joey and says that Pacey isn't in the right sound of mind. It hurt the feelings of a babe like her.
Mm-hmm.
And then Harley's friends do find her. And Harley even said that her dress is a little too ugly for a school event, but maybe it's just her. And then Patrick tells Harley to keep it down, or else Joey's going to think that he might be attached.
What did you think when Pacey told her she looked nice?
Harley, yeah, that was sweet.
Yeah. And then he danced with her.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was so sweet.
Right. But of course, now Joey's alone. So that's when Patrick comes back. She told him to go get Punch, but apparently he forgot on his way there. So then he
Yeah,
came back.
he comes back and goes, "Oh, right. I was supposed to go get punched." It's like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
I think he only came back because Harley went away.
Mm-hmm. And saw
So he
Joey
was like,
alone.
she's left alone. I love her.
Mm-hmm. And then he does offer his arm, and Joey takes it for some reason. And Patrick tells Joey that he knows the guy who spiked Punch Bowl. So if she wants, they can have a drink under the bleachers and just give him the
Let's
word.
go.
Yeah. And Joey says no and just walks away. So I think she was going to dance with him until he brought that up. So he just ruined that for
Well, yeah, I
himself.
think she was gonna be nice, but then he's always got to take it.
Right.
and ruin it.
Hmm. And then Dawson is hanging posters up in his room. He's looking for his hook one. Um, and I guess that's one of my favorite movies that Spielberg has been a part of because of the great, with the legend Robin Williams and the great Dante Bosco.
That was yours, you said?
Yeah, my favorite one, yeah,
Oh.
that Spielberg's done. And that Dawson's just trying to go back to the roots and remember who he is for his next movie. Yeah, so Gail says that now Dawson's revisiting 15. Does this mean she has to start giving him an allowance? Because she
Um,
asks, what he's going to do for money.
I loved seeing Gail back.
Me too.
I miss seeing her.
Hmm.
And I love how realistic she's being
Yeah.
because she's like, well, what's your plan? Like, what's your plan? How are you going to make money? And he's
Hmm.
like, well, I mean, if I have to contribute to the family finances, because his plan is just to move back home, live off of Gail, and
Hmm.
not get a job. And she was being so realistic. She was like, but what are you gonna do? And I guess I'll get a part-time job. And she goes, no, that's not what I'm saying. Like, what is your plan in
Hmm.
case this all falls?
Yeah.
And like, what is your second, um, like, what's your backup?
Hmm.
And well, let's just say he don't have one.
Right.
Um, and I mean, when he's going through the whole thing too,
Hmm.
when he was like, well, I'm gonna write the script and film it and turn it in and blah blah blah. And I'm like, that's gonna take how long?
Right.
Because some people it takes years to do.
Hmm.
So you're gonna live off Gale for years. And we're not even gonna say you're gonna make it.
Hmm.
And like I agree with Gail, but I will say, I do think Gail has a little bit of like she's a little at fault for this too. Because when he was in high school, she said he was great. She loved everything he did. She never criticized it. She never opened his eyes to reality. She didn't.
Hmm.
She never said that you can't do this.
Right.
That was her fault. Was when he was in high school, she should have broke it all down to him.
Hmm.
But she didn't. She said he was great.
Yeah.
You can go to Hollywood. You can make movies. You can do whatever you want. That's what she told him. So it is weird how she has this switch of being realistic now and being like, no, there's like a 1% chance you make it in this world, in Hollywood. So you need to have a backup. And it's weird because she should have said this in high school.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like she should have told him, not everybody makes it.
Hmm.
Most people don't.
Hmm.
Um, and so she should have had that heart to heart, and it would have been tough, but it would have been tough love. I
Right.
still consider it love
Hmm.
because she's telling him the truth.
Hmm.
She's not saying don't do it. She's just saying have a fallback.
Right.
And so you don't lose yourself
Hmm.
in the end. And but I think she should have had this conversation when he was in high school. I don't think she should have said he was fantastic at everything he did. I think she should have had that heart to heart then.
Hmm.
Because remember, I said he is going to when he was in high school and everybody was telling him he was great, whether it was his friends, his parents, anyone. When they all said he was great, I said he is going to have a tough time in California because people are going to judge him. People are going to be critical because that's life. And
Hmm.
I think um and now we're seeing it. He is struggling. And in his mind, after everything he's been through, this past year and a half, he still is like, nope, I'm gonna make it. This one film or this one whatever he's doing is going to make it. How realistic is that?
Right.
That's why I agree with Gail, but that's why I'm just saying she made the mistake. And it was partially her fault of why he is being so, I don't know, like, um, what's the word? Like it's still a dream. Like he's in dreamland.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in reality. But I do think it's her fault, part of it, because again, she should have told him back, years ago when he was so into film.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I do feel like that's part of her fault. And also, this is part of her fault too, because for the past year and a half, he's been coming home, right?
Right.
So for this past year and a half, it's not like she put a fire under his ass and said, you need to make money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is also kind of her fault too, is she's been letting him come and go and live there rent free. I mean, that's again partially on her of why now? Why
Mm-hmm.
now is she giving him a hard time about this?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So again, she's part to blame for it. But um, I do wonder what it's gonna take for Dawson to realize, you know, this isn't real.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, you could get that once in a lifetime chance where your film makes it. But that doesn't
Right.
happen to everyone. That's why I said it's a 1%
Mm-hmm.
that you can make a film and it's great
Mm-hmm.
for your first time.
Yeah.
And I know he's been doing movies, but they haven't been good.
Right.
So it's just weird. And also, Dawson does not have the imagination that all these filmmakers have. He
Mm-hmm.
has one story that he continues to create,
Yeah. Recycle.
and it's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I mean. If he had this whole life experience where he traveled and got all this inspiration, then you know what? That'd be great. And that's what
Right.
filmmakers have, or they dream of all the stuff that could happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it didn't have to happen to them. They could have just thought of it, right?
Right.
Dawson does not have the imagination. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard to believe that Dawson could be successful. I'm just going to put it out there because being a filmmaker, you have to have imagination and
Mm-hmm.
creativity, which is something he doesn't have because he only
Yeah.
falls back to him and Joey.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's just weird. Like this is all you've got.
Right. Yeah. And then we come back from what would be a commercial to Dawson having writer's block while typing on his laptop, and then he eventually gives up
I
and
wonder why
closes
he's
it.
got writer's block. Huh.
Right. But when he closes his laptop, we see three different shots of him closing it that felt really unnecessary. And then he walked out of the room.
Wasting time.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know I noticed that there was only like 40 or 41 minutes in the show?
Yep. Yep, I noticed that too.
Because most episodes are around 43.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they did 41, barely 41, because
Right.
if you cut the credits in, it was 40 or less.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, how do you think they got away with it?
I don't know, maybe slightly longer commercials at the time.
Well, it had to be to fit the whole hour long. There had to be,
Mm-hmm.
a couple extra commercials, but it's weird because, to like sit there and be like, oh, we're not like to be the network and be
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, you're turning in a barely 41-minute episode. Do
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then I feel like it's the network's problem to have to then try to figure out what commercials have to replace that 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, wow, this is what I mean. 40, barely 41 minutes, and this is all we've got.
Right.
Like they're really slacking, aren't they? Like there's
Mm-hmm.
really no more storytelling left, I guess they have, because they couldn't even fill 43 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And then next we go back to the dance where Harley is dancing with the football player, laughing at everything he says and looking over the bleachers where Patrick's sitting to see if he's looking at them and making him jealous. And then Pacey and Joey are by the punch bowl having a drink.
Oh my God. So, well, first, he brings up, um, oh, I hope somebody spiked the punch.
Hmm.
Which you have said, like, our school didn't spike the punch.
As far as I know, yeah.
Um, well, did you drink the punch?
Um, Homecoming, but not prom. I don't think. I don't know. I don't think. No.
Um, and so, uh, but then it was so funny because, um, they were talking and because what was it that he said? Because then he said that he blocks promo or he blocked promo.
Yeah, because he wanted to, know when they're going to take their picture in front of the
Oh,
tropical
yeah.
mural.
And she
Mhm.
goes, that's at prom. And he goes,
Right.
oh, I blocked promo.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. I think anyone in his shoes would have blocked promo.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Joey adds it wasn't his finest hour, and he says he was troubled back then.
Oh,
James
but
Dean type.
yeah, and it was funny because she goes, a dumbass. And he was
Hmm.
like, and then they were going back and forth, and he goes, well, because she was saying like he's still like a dumbass. And
Hmm.
he was like, I'm a happy dumbass. I got a second chance. Oh
Right.
my God, Cynthia, my heart.
Hmm.
When he said that, I was like, as much as I want to be like, yes, 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 I'm like, Joey's hiding something that is going to ruin this happiness.
Hmm.
It bothered me. I was like, for him, I was like, so happy for him. And just ever again, his words, everything he says, it's like, oh my God, it gets to you. But then, like, you just see her and it's like,
Hmm.
like, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, because he starts kissing on her, and she tells him that they shouldn't do that here, and then they hear a commotion from the dance floor.
Oh my God. So when Patrick and the football player are fighting, which, okay, I have no idea why Patrick would fight with a football player.
Right.
I'm sorry, but the football player has practice at tackling people.
Hmm. Yep.
So I
He's
thought
a lot
that,
bigger too than
well,
Patrick.
yeah. I mean, I just thought that was very comical because I was like, Patrick, you are going to lose this battle. I don't even know why you attempted it.
Hmm.
And so it was so funny because when it cuts to Pacey and Joey, Joey's all like, oh my gosh, like there's a fight. And Pacey is just laughing. And I was like, it was funny because Pacey always breaks up every fight. Remember, I always say, stop it.
Yeah.
Here, he was actually going to let the fight go.
Hmm.
And Joey goes, aren't you going to do something? And he goes, well, this is funny.
Hmm.
Well, I think he was agreeing with all of us. We needed some action in the episode.
Yeah.
Oh, but then he goes and breaks it up
Yeah, just as Patrick is about to give Jamie, the football player, a wedgie.
because he can't fight.
Yeah. And then
Um,
Patrick said that it was a move called the Crave or Krav Maga that apparently
well,
J-Lo used and enough.
yeah, because he brings up J-Lo. And the other guy burns him.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
what did
And
he?
calls
Yeah.
him Patrick from the block or Patty from the block.
Yeah. And then Pacey goes, you walked right into that dude.
Hmm. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, it was all good. Is this where then um is it Joey takes Harley in the bathroom?
Not yet, because everybody's laughing at that Patty comment, and even Harley laughs. So that's when Jamie tells Patrick that even his girlfriend liked it. So Patrick goes to punch him in the face, but then ends up hitting poor Pacey instead.
You said poor Pacey.
Yeah, because he was just trying to stop it, and he just kind of got in the way. But it's just only because Patrick's a lousy puncher, wasn't even close to Jamie.
Well, he's a lousy date.
Hmm. Yeah, so in the bathroom, Joey finds Harley crying, and she feels ridiculous, but Joey tells her she looks like a rock star.
Yeah.
And then she asks, how's Patrick? And Joey tells her that he's in the boys' bathroom with Pacey getting cleaned up, and
And then this is where they cut to Pacey.
um, well, Harley had mentioned if she, you know, was if Patrick mentioned her, and or if he's like with any other girls in the bathroom, and Joey's like, that's the boys' bathroom, and she's like, yeah, but that's where we had our first kiss. So apparently nobody is watching to make sure the students are going in, the bathrooms that they should be in. If it's so easy like that. Then yeah, in the boys' bathroom, Pacey tells Patrick
Okay,
he's
it was so funny because like right away Pacey was like, he said, pick an enemy your own size, like a possum.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my God. That was good.
Yeah. And then Patrick says to Pacey like he's the rock or something.
Okay, if he was the Rock, he would have no problems fighting that football
Mm-hmm.
player.
And
Ugh.
then
But then it was funny because Pacey goes, at least I can grow facial hair.
mm-hmm. Then Patrick
He
pointed to his face and said, well, what do you
says,
call this? And
and
Pacey
Pacey
said,
goes, Lent
yeah. So that was funny, that whole interaction.
or Lint.
Mm-hmm. And then back in the girls' bathroom, Harley is upset. She's crying in the bathroom, and Joey's wiping away her tears and saying that it's a tradition and that she's done it too at her high school dances in the bathroom.
Yeah, and then Harley says, so you really haven't had a good time at any of your dances? And Joey goes, right. She goes, oh, except for this one. This one's the first. And I'm like, first
Mm-hmm.
of all, again, like the first high school dance, it was it was Joey's fault. Um, for getting caught up in both Jack and Dawson, for not being honest. Um, and then what was the next one?
Well, the
Oh,
next one
it
was,
was Dawson trying to go against Pacey.
oh,
Remember
mm-hmm.
when he was like, "Oh no, like this is we're more than friends."
Right.
Then it was prom.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say that the only time it really wasn't her fault was prom
Mm-hmm.
because she shouldn't have went with Dawson to that dance junior year.
Right.
Well, because he had his own agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And also, then she brings up how this one is good. Well, it ain't gonna be if you it's not gonna be Joey.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not meant to have like fun at dances.
Right. And then at some point in the boys' bathroom, Pacey, is giving advice to Patrick about Harley and um yeah, and Patrick, just say like compliment her on her shoes, and Patrick was about to make a comment about her body, so Pacey cuts him off and tells him that just
Well,
to say that
because
he likes her.
yeah, and he said, he goes, you like Harley. And he goes, she has her strong points.
Mm-hmm.
What? Like,
Right.
you like her. Why do you have to say something after?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you say she has her strong points? You like the girl. Shut up. That should be the
Mm-hmm.
end.
Yeah. And then back Pacey calls him an idiot, not to do that, and
Can I say
Patrick
it?
pushes him. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because, because Patrick was just being obnoxious.
Mm-hmm.
And Pacey goes, have you seen my date?
Right.
Because he's basically calling Pacey like a loser and stuff. And he's like, have you seen my date? And it's
Yeah.
funny. It's funny because Pacey's date is what Patrick wants.
Right. Yeah, and that was after they were wrestling each other, and Joey saw them in the bathroom while Pacey had Patrick in a headlock.
Hmm.
And then Patrick calls him, once he thinks about it, he calls Pacey a wise Yoda and to tell him his ways about, making things right with Harley. And then at Graham's and Jen's. So Jen and Graham's are the only, no, I forgot there's Jack. Jack's, no, no, he's in the apartment. Am I forgetting? Yeah, so Jen and Graham's are the only one in the house at this point. And so Jen tells Grams that there was a phone call for her from a doctor she's never heard of, confirming her appointment for tomorrow. So this is
This
making
was this
Joey.
was a sad scene.
Yeah, making Joey, not Joey, making Jen wonder what's going on with Grams again. I know she points out how she was the one that used to mope around the house, and now it's her turn to see what's going on with her. And Graham still kind of fights her about, if she's looking for drama to look elsewhere and all that. And then finally, Graham explains that it's Dr. Loomis and an oncologist, and that she's seen her because there's a malignant tumor in her breast, and she's starting radiation just next week. So who knows how long this has been going on? That Graham hasn't said anything to Jen yet about it. And
Well, and I get why she would break up with Uncle Bill
Bill.
because I mean, she's older.
Hmm.
Um, and for her, it's like this is the end,
Hmm.
and she doesn't want to involve him and get attached. I mean, because it happened to her
Hmm.
with Mr. Brooks.
Right.
So, and she remembers the pain. So, I guess she just doesn't want to, it to happen to someone else where they have to feel it.
Hmm.
But I don't think pushing Jen away is the right thing.
Right.
But I think she's just scared
Hmm.
and she doesn't want to worry Jen
Right.
because she is worried enough.
Hmm. Yeah, so Graham's tried to get Jen to go in the kitchen to turn off or turn down the oven, but Jen can't because, she's just hit with this news, and Graham just gets mad that she's not doing what she's being told and does it herself.
Well, Jen
Yeah,
just found out.
I know she's trying to process everything.
I mean, the one person in Jen's life
Hmm.
that loves her
Hmm.
could possibly be dying.
Right.
How would you take that?
Hmm.
Everyone else in your life has rejected you,
Right.
but Grams, and you might lose her. I mean, how would anyone take that?
Right.
It's like, I get that Grams is going through this, but Jen now is going through this too.
Hmm.
And Grams just wants to ignore it. But if she wanted to ignore it, then she should have not said anything to Jen.
Right.
I made something up because um you got to then put yourself in that person's position. Like, this is going to ruin Jen's life. And I'm not saying, you know, it's Graham's fault because it's not, but I'm
Hmm.
just saying you got to think of the other person,
Yeah.
especially your granddaughter. Like,
Hmm.
who's the adult here? I know they're both
Right.
adults, but but Jen is the grandkid.
Hmm.
So you got to
Yep.
let her process too and not just get mad at her.
Right. Yeah. And then we find Joey outside. Well, she finds Pacey outside of the dance, checks his face to see how it's doing after Patrick hit him. And yeah, this is where things go badly
Oh,
downhill.
I hate this scene.
Hmm.
I also, Cynthia, don't understand this scene. I don't understand because, let's see here. Joey goes on telling Pacey that she doesn't, like being with Pacey doesn't make her feel right.
Hmm.
Cynthia, explain this to me. How does being with Pacey not feel right?
Because she still has feelings for Eddie.
No, 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 no. It's Pacey we're talking about.
Hmm.
How she, the past few episodes, has been so happy being with Pacey.
Hmm.
How does that not feel right?
I don't know. She never, I guess, she didn't really get the closure she needed with Eddie, so that's why there's still feelings lingering.
Cynthia, this is Pacey. This isn't some strange guy we're talking about. This is Pacey we're talking about. The
Yeah, I know.
person she was in love with.
Hmm.
How is it not? How does this not feel right? It doesn't make sense.
I don't know. Maybe, I mean, they both hurt her pretty good. So it's not like it's that. I don't know. Maybe she might be afraid. I don't know. She's afraid of something, but I don't know what. Because even he says it, but she's afraid.
Um, and then, he's going on. And he was like, this could be it. And
Mm-hmm.
she said, no, it won't be. And it's like, she just happens to shut everything. This is what I mean. Remember when I said Pacey should be worried about how, like, he should be worried about Joey
Mm-hmm.
because she's so wishy-washy. Here it is, breaking his heart, making him think this whole night that
Mm-hmm.
this was it. And here she is, just, it's not.
Yeah.
And then, I will say though, when he said, loving you proved that I could be great.
Right.
And then what he says right after, he said, I could love you again.
Mm-hmm.
What? What do you mean I could love you again? You do love her. I don't understand. Cynthia, I don't understand this comment. He loves her. Audrey said it at Christmas and he admitted it at the party he had where Joey was drunk. What does he
Mm-hmm.
mean he could? Could
Yeah.
is different than you do.
Mm-hmm.
What in the hell is he talking about?
Yeah, I was shocked that he said that too.
He should have said, I do love you, not I could.
Mm-hmm.
Because could is like a possibility still of no. I was like, this is what I mean. This whole scene made no sense from Joey at the beginning saying it doesn't feel right to be with Pacey to Pacey saying I could love you again.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of these statements add up to the past. And I'm not saying season 4, season 3. I'm not talking about those seasons. I'm talking about the past, what, 4 episodes?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about that. If we look at just these past episodes, these statements make no sense. It doesn't add up to this. They've been so cute, so right that it makes no sense. And so in love. Remember
Mm-hmm.
we were discussing, are they together? Are they not together just last episode?
Right.
Because they acted as if they were boyfriend and girlfriend. And
Mm-hmm.
what do you mean these statements? They don't make sense. I
Mm-hmm.
don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm just getting it as a person watching, and I see two people who the past few episodes are so right there and so right on that this doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes a step further and breaks his heart
Yeah, because she
and
tells
said,
him Eddie
Eddie's
came back.
back. Yeah. And then, okay, so when he walks away and then it like pans to her, the camera,
Mm-hmm.
she's all like a mopey. I'm like, Joey, you just broke his heart by saying Eddie's back. How do you
Mm-hmm.
think how do you think he's gonna react?
Right.
Anybody would walk away from you,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Put yourself in someone else's shoes for once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And honestly, I'm surprised he stayed that night.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
He
he
could have
should have
just
just
went home.
left.
Mm-hmm. And then Gail's house, Dawson's still having trouble with his script. He's watching his old movie Creek Days. That must be the one that he
It's with
made. And
Abby,
yeah, that he's watching on his TV. And Gail comes up and,
which what's funny?
hmm,
That whole time they were making that movie,
mm-hmm.
we had no idea what the name was
Right. Yep.
until recently.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so he's stuck making his new movie. And, um, he says that he had a team of people pitch in, helping him. He
Yeah,
had a support system.
a whole support system, which was his
And
family and friends.
yeah, and now he's completely alone. So maybe that's why he's
Now,
stuck.
I wonder if he is having a hard time because I wonder if part of loving film was making it with his friends.
Right.
Or, because now he has nothing. So
Hmm.
I wonder if that was 50% of making films was he was with his friends. Because, when
Yeah.
you're doing something with your friends, it's a different feeling than doing it
Hmm.
alone. And so
Yeah.
I just wonder if that's like the 50% of his success
Hmm.
in the past was because it was his friends.
Right. Yeah. So he tells his mom he doesn't have a backup plan and he's not gonna because he wants to do this,
I'm
for,
I'm gonna be a director.
yeah.
I also have another thing. So Gail tells him to go back to college and, see if, being a director is what you want, blah, 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 which is, good advice. But um then he brings up how he basically would be wasting his parents' money.
Hmm.
Um, what happened to Mr. Brooks' money? So that means his parents paid for college all from the beginning. Remember when we said it was probably Mr. Brooks' money that paid for USC?
Hmm.
So I guess Mr. Brooks' money disappeared
Maybe it was just enough to cover one semester and
for Joey.
yeah, and maybe then he used it, to have food and stuff like that in the meantime.
Yeah, it just threw me off. I was like, I guess Mr. Brooks' money is gone.
Yeah. And he just says that he needs her to believe that he's the one in a million that's gonna make it. And that's when she tells him the story about Mitch and wanting to make chewing gum and sell it, locally. And then that's how Dawson ended up with a shaved head because he got gum in his hair. He was helping his dad. And that, his dad had a lot of schemes, but she, you know, thinks that he got it from the chocolate, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory because that was something he liked as a kid, like a childhood dream. And Dawson says, like, this isn't a childhood dream, it's like his life dream, and that he's gonna stick with it. And that, Mitch just had the courage to believe that life could be as great as you think it is as a kid. And then Dawson asks if he wants her if she wants him to watch Lily. She says yes. And then tells him to, go off, jump off a cliff, but only metaphorically, you know. But what she should have said, just take the risk, She didn't have to use metaphor, but
Hmm.
and then apparently Dawson had the temporary rose tattoo on the screen of his laptop and she gave it to him in a Cracker Jack box. We didn't see that happen, so I thought maybe that was from Joey for a second, like from when they were younger, but it was from her, from Gail. And Dawson just says he had it there because it, reminded him that someone loved him, and so that was a little sweet moment between them. And then that's why he was typing his script. And then go back to Graham's in the kitchen again, and Jen's, trying to say like, "I'll help you, I'll take you to treatments and do
And
this for
then,
her."
well, Graham said being scared does no one ever good,
Right,
which is true, but you still gotta have your feelings.
right.
Oh, but then Patrick.
Oh, wait, hon, just one second. And then Graham says that this is not a death sentence and that she's not ready to die. And that a lot of people her age, go into remission. And, that, I think that's the thing that Jen really need to hear. So she knows that Graham isn't giving up or anything. And you just have a sweet moment, hold each other, and cry and all that. So, but then, yeah, back to Patrick and Harley.
So Patrick said, I'm a lover, not a fighter. And she was like, yeah, that was like evidence.
Yeah,
And
obvious. Yeah,
yeah. And then it was so funny because when he was finally being nice and everything to her, she was like, nice speech. Did Pacey tell you that?
right. Yeah. And then, yeah, he says Pacey even taught him to unhook a bra with one hand. And she says, if he does that, he'll only have one hand left. So that was their little makeup. And then Joey's
And
alone in
then,
the bleachers.
yeah, and then Pacey said, memory serves, I owe you a dance, Miss Potter. And then they dance cute. Has
Yeah, but kind of,
Emily
yeah,
all
slow dance.
sad.
And
And then he lets
yeah.
her go and walks away.
Hmm.
How in the hell could you let him go? I just don't get it at all.
Just because she still has feelings for Eddie, because she even shows up at his parents' house later, knocks on the door, and
And kisses him. Hmm.
yeah, and he kisses her back.
But did you see afterwards her face? She doesn't love him.
Yeah, I think she's just conflicted with feelings for both of them, I think, or
I just
something.
don't think she loves him.
Mm.
So, can I say my high and low?
Mhm.
My high was Pacey being so excited about going to the dance
Mhm.
and just how loving he was towards that.
Yeah.
My low was Joey breaking his heart.
Hmm.
What about you?
My high was just because it was funny the fight at the dance with Patrick and
You love the
Pacey and
fights.
Jamie. Yeah, and then the bathroom wrestling too with Pacey and Patrick, and then the low was just um finding out about Graham's and Jen having her moment of being scared and everything, and then rating.
I'd rate this an 8. I mean, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst.
Yeah, I'd say the same. And then
And then your
worst and
best and
best.
worst.
Yeah. Worst is Eddie because he came back, and then the best is Pacey because he was trying to do better this time with Joey and everything to make up for what he did before. And yours?
My best is Pacey because, yes, he's making up for it. I loved that he was trying to sort of, erase prom.
Hmm.
And again, he didn't have to go. He didn't have to be a chaperone. He did all that. He also was there for Patrick when he didn't have to be.
Hmm.
Also he told Dawson right from the start, this isn't a good idea, as he didn't have to do.
Hmm.
So he's just best overall. And then the worst was Joey for breaking up with him and then going to see Eddie after she had said she moved on.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
told Eddie you moved on, you broke up with Pacey, and then you went back to Eddie. I don't understand Joey at all. So she's
Hmm.
the worst. In the next episode.
Episode 19, Love Lines.
All right. Thanks
Yep.
for listening.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Duo Chat. If you want to chime in with your opinion about the episode and the show we discussed, you can email us at duochatpodcast@gmail.com. And to keep up with updates about the podcast, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Duo Chat Podcast. And give us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We would appreciate it.